a crack. Tom and Jack having a crack.
He's John Cena now.
Cena, he's one of the actors.
Yeah, so he
one of the
used to be a
ex-wrestler. Yeah,
ex-wrestler. He's actually a really funny comedic actor. He's in Trainwreck, Amy Schumer's Trainwreck movie, and he's great in that. He's done a few of the small cameo comedy parts.
Yeah,
and then they put him in this Fast and Furious
because he's one of those big dudes.
Oh, he's one. Okay, yeah.
But the
I think I know the guy you mean.
The apology's funny because, like Adam said, he's so fluent.
Yes,
it's not like he's like piecing together Mandarin. He's like absolutely.
He had this in the back pocket.
So how? Well, he must have known Mandarin beforehand. Maybe he's married to a Chinese girl or something.
I don't know whether he's doing it right.
Because I don't know if it's like wrestling, it helped with wrestling promotion or whatever it was, but like for whatever, I think it's a business thing.
For sure.
I think it's like I can be the biggest American movies. I can be a much bigger American movie star if I'm the most marketable.
And they will love that.
Money.
Yeah,
they will love that, you know.
Yeah.
Because I know what was it, Conan O'Brien goes to Mexico and does shows there every so often, and he can speak Spanish and they love him for that.
Yeah.
And I think Will Smith can speak Spanish too.
Yes.
Yeah, and they love him too.
And he taught himself that for the same reason. There's like a little montage of Will Smith going over the years to South America doing promo
and stuff.
Yeah.
Local.
They don't mind that down there though.
Oh, God. Are we recording again?
Slandering a continent. Here we are. This week on Having the Crack. No, they are fighty. So this is like montage of him like slowly learning Spanish over the years, and he did it 100% so he could market his movies better. So
mad, isn't it?
Better,
yeah. Mandarin or Spanish are the way to go, to be honest.
Can you speak a different language? What's the language
No,
of
my
Pakistan?
parents are really,
Urdu?
No, so I can't speak Urdu or Greek, and my parents are very disappointed in me, despite never speaking to me as a child.
They're just,
why don't you just pick it up?
They're disappointed with you in general.
For sure.
It's not localized in the language.
No, I think it was the move into. It was not speaking the languages. It was not reading as many journals as I should have read.
Playing Go too much.
Oh yeah, and then it was playing too much Go, and then choosing to do comedy as a career, which they've never respected and still never seen me do to this day. So
they've never seen you do it.
No, and also I don't think I want that.
I wouldn't like my mother.
I've got nothing against these comedians who have their parents come to support them and everything else, but there would be a knot in my stomach if my parents are actually there. Yeah. Clapping and enjoying what I was saying.
It's not great. I mean, you've done comedy on. You've
sat beside your dad while you were on stage.
I know.
I was like,
when Jack did comedy on the farm, so my parents are every comedy on the farm, and to be honest, I just blank it out now.
You have to.
They sit in the back, way in the back, and I just blank it out.
Do you self-edit about certain topics?
I did when I
talk about sex stuff, for example.
So when I started, I did. I think it helps that my dad. He's like a blank canvas. I could be like, Dad, I've been shooting heroin, and be like, yes, the weather is nice.
It's a good day for it.
Yeah, lovely stuff. The brown tar, very nice. Like he's like a blank slate. And me and my mum have a very open relationship, so I don't feel like I have to worry too much.
Yeah.
When I first started doing comedy on the farm, it was just friends and family basically in the audience. It's like, come to my little gig in the barn. So it was like the first one we did with like Scott Bennett, and it was just friends and family. The extended friends.
That's a big get though, Scott Bennett.
Yeah. Well, mate, the pandemic helped.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was like the only reason comedy on the farm took off was because for a brief period of time, it was arguably the best comedy venue in COVID.
Yes.
Because it was open enough to be legal, but it had a roof, it was enclosed.
Smart.
So it actually felt like a real venue.
Yeah,
so we all remember back then it was like park.
Mad. Yeah. Couldn't do anything.
Open air, just nonsense. People wouldn't even have microphones most of the time.
Weird.
So it was like this brief period where it was like the first three were Scott Bennett, Daniel Sloss, Adam Rowe. That was the first three.
Wow.
And that's what.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't get you off the ground.
Yeah. But so like obviously for these lads it was like just fun. For me, I was just like, that's my dad's mate. More than my parents, it was like my dad's mate John, who like knows me but doesn't know me.
Yeah.
So when you say something, he's like, I didn't think he'd be like that.
Yes.
Like they were the things that were worse. But like, what was Jed like when you were like? Does he even acknowledge when I'm on stage? Because in my head when I'm performing, my dad's like, that grouting needs doing.
Yeah, I was sitting beside. I think Marcus Birdman was sitting beside us as well. Like I was sort of like, obviously I wasn't like, you'd say something, but I was sort of having the sly little sort of glance over. But there was things where you said a few things where I was like, oh God, I wouldn't want to make eye contact with your dad now after that.
Did you do your semen joke?
No, well, I had cousins come to a gig.
My mum requested the semen.
Okay, yeah.
So I had elderly cousins who came to a gig, so I left that joke out. But I had all my bosses from work come to a gig, and I left it in. And I was like, I was going to leave it out, but at the time, the set I had was so, like, it was running so smoothly in that order that it just. It would have been more. It would have taken a lot of effort to take it out. That might have disjointed the whole thing, So I left it in.
You do know it. Like, if for some reason someone, you ever get cancelled, that's the bit that people are going to pull up. That joke. They're going to be like, "Look at this guy."
That's not something that would get you cancelled. It's kind of. I've kind of moved it out of it.
They'll be linking it, going, "He's doing that," and then he's this.
Don't be like, "Who's that?" That's not offensive to anyone.
6 years from now, people are going to be like, "Well, he is anti-sperm. He's an anti-sperm comedian."
You're talking nonsense, right?
You're making it real by getting it. Okay,
This is it. I can't wait for these. I'll send him this clip. Whoever's asking for it, you're talking nonsense.
Well.
Stands by his bit.
Yeah.
I'm doing it less and less now, if I'm honest.
I think you should,
because I've had others. I feel like I've had better material that's come true. So it's gone down the pecking order.
Yeah.
It's interesting how that happens, isn't it? When you have a bit that you're happy about and you're proud of, and then as you do, you create new material and better material and you're more excited about it. I don't know about you guys, but I start to resent my old material sometimes, and I just kind of go, I hate that I have to do that. Or if I have to do like a silly voice, and I kind of go, why do I need to do that to get a laugh? I should be able to do it through this new way.
Interesting.
Sometimes, but I think there are times where there's times where you do very much fall out of love with your material, but then you can get back into it again. But no, I don't really, because I think it's always nice to have there'll be some gigs I'll show up to and I'll be like, I'm definitely going to do it for these. Do you know what I mean? Like, I look out in them and I know they're going to get a great kick out. There's some material, but and then you're still trying to get to, you're still get, like, it'll be in the hour show. Don't
worry about that.
Don't worry about that.
Come see him in Brighton, you'll see it. You'll get it. I think it's very interesting because I've been trying to think about like your older bits as kind of like, you've got almost like base recipes.
Yeah.
And then you can, whatever the room's like or whatever's happened before you can inject some newness. You can inject some sort of immediacy. Yeah. But you've got a solid punchline there, or you've got a solid like premise to work with. But you can maybe like
when I went to visit all these pyramids in Mexico, a lot of them there was a building. And then years later, another building was built on top of it and built on top of it and built on top. So that's kind of like stand-up routines. You can build on top of them and they can shift and change and, like that. I also think too that I feel your delivery, like I've noticed it now, like I have bits that the actual, if you really studied it, the tonation of delivery is very similar to, if that makes sense.
So it's hard because tonation's not even close to a word, but yeah.
Tonation.
Tonality.
You know what? Yeah, I was going to say. You know what really helped that out? Read a few more journals, mate. Jack, a couple of journals will you write out.
So I have like it's like you're already learning like signature tricks. So like one signature trick I have is I have a couple of punchlines where the line just before the punchline I really raise my voice and then I deliver the punchline quite low, and I can tell that it's. I got that from that.
That's going to ruin your show if anyone to come see you.
No.
He's doing the thing he said he's doing.
They wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
He'll be there with the checkbook going, oh yeah, he is doing that.
Think of it like quite pleasant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, while these two bits don't seem similar, they actually are very
structurally.
They're very similar.
Let's go nerdy for a second because I love doing that as well. Like where whether it's writing it down or just like doing it in your head. Like almost you take the structure, so you take like the actual idea, think, I wonder how this would change sometimes how I try and refresh older stuff is like, I wonder how this would change if I applied a different structure to it.
Yeah.
Like, what if I applied like a 3-way build up to it? Or what if I added an analogy to it? Or what if I changed my tone of voice? Or what if I played angrier rather than sadder? Or
100%. Yeah.
I think tone of voice is so underrated, and I don't think people consider it enough. And I think, you know, I did theatre at university, which is one of my biggest regrets because it was pointless. But I remember once I was paying a huge amount of money to do this in class because that's how, you know, the fees were, and it was they were telling you, like, it's not about what you're saying, it's about how you're saying it. Everyone stood in a circle, and the idea was to try and make the person next to you laugh, and you could only say yes or no. And it was going,
that's good.
Yes!
I like that.
Oh,
I like
yes.
that.
And it was just doing all that, and I remember just thinking, like, oh, people are doing like theses and stuff, and I'm doing this. But like, I remember just thinking that's really important. It's more about how you say something rather than, especially with comedy, at least in my mind,
Totally
it
agree.
makes a huge.
I think most of the big acts, it's how they say things.
Yeah.
Like the
not
arena
what to
comics.
say. Yeah,
the ones who know how to perform.
It's when you're locked into them and their rhythm.
Yeah.
So I think we're all similar. We've all done a bit of theatre, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like that exercise is getting you to lock into someone's rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed, like, in the Belgian shows, the first show in Antwerp, I flubbed, and I haven't done this for ages. The opening-ish bit about like, getting kidnapped and everything in America.
Right.
I flubbed 3 or 4 of the lines, and I had to like go back, and I forgot to mention that I was going to Las Vegas, and I had to like but because they were locked into the rhythm and the energy, it was getting
Isn't that
big
great?
pops,
Yeah.
big pops.
That's great.
Yeah, and the word order was all over the fucking show.
Yeah.
But they were just locked into the yes, no, yes.
Yeah.
But that could, sometimes that can make the whole thing seem more like you're just saying it for the first time.
Yeah.
Jumbling up the words a bit.
Yeah.
And can make it.
Do you know what's really interesting? I don't know if you've probably seen this already, but like watching a stand-up do a set in a language you cannot speak
Yes.
is fascinating. I've seen it with a Greek comic, which is shameful because I should know how to speak it. But then also, I remember there's a guy called Jeff, really, really good guy, does this comedy show called French It Up, right? He does it once, a few times in Farringdon.
Yeah.
And he has like English speaking and then also French speaking. And then watching French comedians deliver French material to a French audience and killing. And as a comic, I can't really understand it, but I go, oh, that's funny, and I know where to laugh
because of the
rhythm and the tonality, which is where we just learned. And so those sort of things where I just kind of go, that's fascinating.
Yes, I agree.
I
I think all comics should try and watch comedy in a different language.
yeah,
Unlock
really
something else in your brain.
Mm-hmm,
Do you remember when we were in Paris? Sebastian Marx was doing his show before us. We weren't watching him, but you were listening.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the exact same experience.
Yeah.
You're like, you kind of got a feeling of when a punchline was coming, and then it had hit, and you kind of got the sense of, maybe even a sense of what kind of material was going on.
Yeah.
Like, you even got a sense of, like, you know, this is like a bit, maybe it's a bit more angry and maybe about his family, and this bit's a bit more like over here somewhere, and it unlocks.
Well, if you ever worked in a call center, you would know that it's something only like 20% of communication is the words you say.
Yeah.
So everything else, body language, tone of voice, all these other.
Body language in a call center.
Well, no.
Excuse me, I can feel you slouching, mate. If you could just.
I can hear your erection from here.
They give you the training.
Click.
They give you the training. Basically, they give you the training, and they say that you're going to be limited. You're limited on the phone because there's a lot of types of communication that you aren't going to be able to do. You know.
Did you enjoy call center? John?
Nah, it was shite.
Well, what was it? Was it like
shite?
Was it? Yeah. So was it cool? Because I used to work in telesales.
Yeah.
So I just used to be on the phone. It was like very sale driven, very like cutthroat, sort of like I was there for about 18 months. But like I'd have people sit next to me who were like new starters, fresh face, and I wouldn't even bother making friends with them because they would be fired by the end of the week. And it's just very tough.
It's like Vietnam.
Yeah, exactly. And then like it was probably like my first job out at university, and it was traumatic and I hated it. But it was like every other day job since then was like a breeze by comparison. But like the things you pick up on the phone and how to keep people on the line and how to talk to people, like it does give you a bit of gift of the
yeah, but what I was doing like felt highly unethical. Like,
so you guys both selling stuff?
I was selling.
I wasn't. I was. Well, I kind of was. But I was ringing people who had Sky and trying to sell them insurance for their Sky dish.
Insurance.
So I had 2 call center jobs. One was fine. It was a market research job, and that was okay. And I loved that job. Me and my 2 brothers did it. It was near our house. Quite often market researchers hire Yorkshire people.
honest.
Yeah.
That's the perception, isn't it?
Yeah, and I would,
good, honest,
and
broadband.
I would like, hello, I'm Thomas. Nice to meet you. How are you doing, love? I would like accent, and we all would.
Positive discrimination.
Oh, massive positive discrimination,
Yeah.
and it was like one of these screeners where if they're over 30, you can't ask them the questions because we're asking questions about Nike trainers or what they're doing.
Okay.
And me and my brother, but the kid thing was, if you got 5 respondents, no matter how long you'd done your shift, you could leave.
Wow.
And you got paid. And me and my brothers figured out, we figured out really quick. On percentage terms, like, doesn't matter who we fucking get, mate. We're this is a summer job. If they fire us, we'll go work at the fucking pub. Like, it doesn't matter. So I was like, it's going to go on my CV. So we used to go through and just find all the old lady names we could find.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like an Ethel, a Margaret, and just like skip, Ethel.
They'll stand the phone.
Wow.
Anything. Be like, how old do you love? 91, under 30, very good. Okay. And would you describe your preferred brand as Yeezys or as Air Jordans? What do you want, love? Air Jordans, was it? Very nice, lovely, absolutely fantastic. You got a lovely phone. Thank you, darling. And we just do 5 of them, and we left in an hour. And my little brother Dominic hadn't cottoned onto the scam yet. It's classic big brother shit. We just like, see you, Dom. It's like, where are you guys going? We're done, buddy. You need to.
Well, where I worked, there was two guys come in, right, and we're ringing up people, and I would have on the thing, I would have Tom Henry, you got Sky, and on the 2nd of the month you pay your Sky bill.
Yeah.
I would have that information in front of me, and I would basically say, look, do you want the insurance for an extra £2 a month? And it just basically means if your dish gets broken or something in the wind, we'll send it right. But there was 2 guys who were just cleaning up. They were doing unbelievable, like they were hitting bonuses. They were making a fortune.
Yeah.
Because they were signing so many people up. So they listened in on them to see what they were doing, to see if they could teach other people how to do it. And this is what they were doing. They were ringing up and they're going, Tom, how you doing? Tom, you got Sky? Yeah.
Sky.
And you pay your bill on the 2nd of the month. Yeah. Listen, our computers went down. What are your bank details? We just need to re-put it in. And they were just putting it in without asking them.
Jesus Christ. Now that's unethical.
And by the time, like, they had made thousands in bonuses by the time they got caught.
Jesus.
Really?
They didn't give a fuck.
No way.
That is. I hope those guys are running some sort of very successful criminal enterprise.
For sure.
They're
Jesus Christ.
probably working in the Home Office by now.
Yeah.
They did the Brexit vote.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what that is?
Working for the Russians.
I do not agree with what they're doing. But that is the ruthless. That's, to be honest, in business. That's you're up against those kind of people.
They were like,
but they're in it to win it. They don't.
Those 2 guys were about 18. They were straight from school.
That is such a good point. Like if you try and play nicey,
nice guys finish off.
Somebody like that is gonna fuck you over.
I think, and if let's remove it away from things. Like, I mean, to be honest, that's, even though it's not great, it is low levels, but like it can get dangerous depending on the industry. But I do think, like, even if it's like growing on social media, or if it's like this, it's always about. It's always the people who've got the weird, unethical, or they've just done something completely different and they're just getting the job done. And I think there's a bit of a weird tangent, but like this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of scared of the potential of AI. When it comes to like managing things, because AI will not consider human ethics, it will just get the job done. So let's say the pandemic happened, we were like, right, AI, you need to keep the deaths in the UK under 100,000. I can go, right, we will do that, but in order to do this, we need to kill off this section of the public, the most vulnerable, the most likely to spread, blah, 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 blah. And as we're sort of allowing that to seep into our lives, that could potentially become a real issue. So I don't know.
Especially if they're like, you can still, like, this is going to happen, but you can still go to the pub. People click the button.
For sure.
I think I don't think AI. I don't think it'll have no ethics. But I think the issue with AI is it'll have the ethics of its creators. Therefore the problem is the ethics are going to be the ethics of Silicon Valley men, and that's going to be presented as neutral, natural ethics rather than skewed, biased ethics. That's going to be the problem with AI.
They had that thing, didn't they? Where it was like it was a few years ago. It was so stupid. It was like somebody in Silicon Valley, they developed this new fucking soap, or it was an antibacterial hand thing where you put your hand in the photo would read your hand, recognize it was a human hand rather than any other object, and it would dispense soap. And then it wasn't working on people without like a certain skin color, so it was only working on like white people basically.
Well, there's that documentary, the Code Bias. Isn't it? Have you seen that one?
Go on.
It's just that. It's like the AI doesn't so when it scans a white person, it scans way more points than when it would scan a black person,
Right.
and men more than women, so the points of reference would be a lot more.
Well, they've got that in as well, like even with camera technology, they were saying unless you're like a white person, camera technology doesn't pick up like darker skin tones easily, and that's why Google Pixel, they've just got this new thing which is like color neutral. It doesn't matter what skin color you are, our cameras will work for you, because that was such a big thing. Like there's that, you get memes of like people taking shots in a nightclub, and if you're not white, you can't be seen in some of these photos because the cameras aren't adjusted for your skin.
We had a funny thing for the British, for British Indian buddies. We got some guys into film, and Ram is South Indian,
yes,
and I am me,
yes,
so
North Indian,
yeah, exactly, yeah, and would have probably done some damage in India at one point. My ancestors. So like we're getting filmed, and the camera operator is like, quick question, we're having some problems with the lighting because of and he's a Belgian guy and he's desperate not to
say anything. Don't mention the Congo.
And this is exactly 100%. And that is where Ram is amazing, because he just stepped in and was like, oh yeah, he's worried about the difference in skin tone. It's totally cool, bro. It happens on shows all the time. Don't worry about it. Wow. We need to do X, Y, and Z. And that's why Ram's really cool, because he instantly like
it's fused it. Yeah,
because the guy was trying to be nut. He didn't want to come across as like it's not he was like, I don't want it to seem someone's fault or anything like that.
The guy who was saying that, was he a white guy?
Yeah.
So because I feel like anyone who's got like a bit of ethnicity in them, like, I'm very comfortable sort of saying to people, like even if it's like anyone who's not fully white, I go, where's your ethnicity from? Like I'm not asking them where they from in the UK. I'm saying, why are you a different colour? Right. The same way somebody asks me that.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like some white guys don't feel comfortable saying that, because then it comes across. It can seem. It
can seem loaded.
Totally. Even though he's just trying to do a good. He's actually trying to be sensitive and be like,
100%.
I want to make sure this comes out really well for you guys and
as a whole.
Yeah. So we need to figure out like a neutral lighting situation.
Yeah.
For the two of years.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I tell you what, you mentioned the Congo thing. Like, when we do these shows around Europe, no other places seem to have to apologise as much as we do. Even though they had like...
No, you can hang the fuck on here now for a minute. Because you do know that in the museum...
Happy to apologise, by the way.
You're the British Museum in Britain, right?
Yeah.
So you do know like the equivalents in France and Germany, they've gone, we will give you the stuff back. And Britain's like, no, we won't give you the stuff back. So there are reasons why Britain...
Nice guys finish last, you see?
Yeah.
100%.
So like there are reasons why you deserve to be...
I'm actually very happy that they haven't given it. And then, very convenient for me.
And then to like, I think they, like Germany have been a lot more open to learn from their historical mistakes, whereas Britain has been like, what mistakes?
What they do?
Do you know what I mean? Like what mistakes? And has whitewashed their history a lot more than these other countries.
So I didn't realise how much that used to happen in I think people my age and below, whether it's in the education system or just in general, I think there's a lot more acceptance and a lot more finding things out. I didn't realise how much my dad feels proud of England. We're having a conversation, watching that film, The Iron Lady.
Yeah.
He's like, do you want to watch this? And I was like, if you promise to keep your pants on. Yeah. He's massive. My dad's a huge Tory, massive Tory, massive Maggie Thatcher fan.
Okay, yeah.
So watching the film, and it's actually a brilliant film. Like they do, because they start with the Alzheimer's and everything, really humanises her. Right. And we're watching it. Impressive. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. The Falklands War bit comes up, and my dad was like, oh, geez, I think it's good that we went into the Falklands. And I was like, oh, well, it's probably because it helped her out in elections and everything. She's like, I don't agree with that. I think Britain is a fundamentally moral country.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not sure if my Irish mate and my Indian mate would necessarily agree with that. Yeah. And he's like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you one. There was an ITV show about 5 or 6 years ago called Victoria. It was about Queen Victoria, right? And there was a tiny little scene in it where it showed the Irish famine, right? And it showed the ships of food leaving Ireland that were being protected by the British Army. And a woman came into work to me. I thought it was kind of funny, like, and she goes, didn't realise that there was food in Ireland during the famine and it was being shipped away. I'd like to apologise to you. I remember thinking it was kind of funny. But that is a classic example. People in England were not told that basically the story is that there was a potato blight, there was no food, and people in Ireland starved because there was no food. Not what they weren't told is there was free market, there was laissez-faire government in Britain who believed in free markets, and they believed that the food they produced in Ireland shouldn't be given to the Irish people. It should be shipped off and sold around the world because the market mattered more than the people. And there had been famines previously where there had been an embargo on shipping food out of Ireland to feed the poor people, and in this one there wasn't, right? So like you're not told that. So like if that was Germany, if Germany had done that to us, they're fucking learning from that not to do it again, and Britain isn't. So that's why you're going getting hit a bit more. Like, do you know what I mean? You're like the drunk who's saying no, I don't have a problem, whereas Germany's at the fucking meeting. That's a good point. Leave the Germans alone.
That was good. That was a good point.
It was Autocrats Anonymous. Yeah.
And then France is somewhere. France hasn't gone as far as Germany, but it's not held back. Like it's gone a bit further.
So I'm with you on Germany, and but specifically Belgium and the Netherlands. I don't know what they're doing to address their balances.
Yeah, but I think they're a bit more. Well, certainly the Dutch would be a bit more reflective than Britain.
Mate, the Dutch. You say that?
Would they not?
Have you not seen the biggest festival in Holland is in
Orange
King's Day?
Orange. Yeah.
And so they have this guy, this little dude who's
William of Orange.
No, but maybe I'm thinking of the wrong festival. They have a very big festival where they all just dress up in blackface.
Oh, I've seen this.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I saw it.
Still to this day.
Really?
Yeah, and it's actually nothing to do with
Justin Trudeau.
Justin Trudeau.
No.
Because he's a different shade.
Yeah.
But it's also not even actually anything to do with like black people. It's got a complete historical connotation.
Yeah.
But obviously,
it's just
it's the demographic of Netherlands has changed, and but they still just like. No, we're
going to keep doing that.
We're just going to keep doing it.
So they would be, but they're smaller than Britain. So that's
this.
Why,
I think that's
that. Yes. So the comparables ones are France and Germany, and Germany definitely have been more willing to learn from their.
Of course.
I don't know if countries really have learned, because I mean I'm going to play devil's advocate here, because if Germany was so good comparatively and the Britain, it was so bad, like when you go back to COVID, think about the AstraZeneca vaccine and some of the other ones. I can't remember the name of the Indian one, but there was this whole bit of the news that people in India, they had this huge, one of the strains was coming out. India had this huge fucking epidemic where they couldn't vaccinate any of their population, even though they were one of the world's biggest manufacturers, because the UK, Germany, America had all purchased vaccines first, and that was under the agreement of, we're going to fund you on the basis that when you create this vaccine, we're getting it before your people do. And everybody was complicit in that. Not so much the states had Pfizer, but Germany, Europe, and the UK had huge amounts of things. So I don't know if we have learnt it with as much. I would say.
Not as much. Look, it's you're still living in a very unequal world.
And I'm quite happy to take on all the British people, having been in here for 2 generations. I love that. People say, you should be apologised for being British. Like, my granddad was born in Cyprus. Like, I'm not too worried. But it's a tough one. I think capitalism will always allow that if no one puts the reins on it.
Like the world's always unequal.
It'll always be unequal.
It's always unequal. It's just about. It depends, like what your historical frame of reference is. How far back do you want to go? Do you want to where do you want to start drawing the lines and boundaries? But like humans have always been like, there's resources. Yeah. Like if we don't get the credit card numbers. Yeah, somebody else will. So if we don't go after the resources, somebody else will. Even because you hear it brought up every now and again, like reparations. Reparations is a really interesting one. And the where I set reparations is, if I can get reparations, I'm all for them. Yeah. And if I can't, no, why? Yeah.
I think they should do reparations, though.
Oh, interesting.
No, I do. I do, because I think it would. I think it would solve.
Would you get reparations in this scenario?
No, I don't think so. No, but I think because
in general or
I think slaves, the slave trade. There should be reparation for the slave trade, because all the arguments against reparations don't hold up with the slave trade, because one is, you can say, but we don't know how much. We do, because the slave owners got compensated, so we know exactly how much.
So I think,
and the native people,
and Germany gave Israel reparations after World War II.
Yeah.
You know that. Okay. Now, Ireland to
Were they given or were they forced to?
No. They give. Like, so again, you know, they made that move. I don't think anyone in Ireland. I don't think anyone in Ireland is pushing for reparations. Like, I don't, you know, but then. Ireland has become, you know, has benefited from being next to Britain.
I was going to say, you've got Google and Apple now.
Britain brought us in. Britain brought Ireland into the EU. So do you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, we're not really. If Ireland was still very poor, maybe people would be saying about it. But I do think, you know, like if you look at certainly in America and in Britain too, like the fact that these communities are still economically further down, then it makes sense. Totally. And I think it's a fair thing to level up, and I think it would do a lot for. I think we'd all benefit from it. I think society would benefit from it, and I think the economy would benefit. I think it would heal. I think it would heal some wounds. I think it would give the economy a boost. I think it would. I think it would work.
I would go one step further.
It would certainly do more. It would be certainly more helpful than bailing out banks.
Yeah, oh no, 100%. And like, nobody would contest that actually, and I agree with you there. And I would say I would probably go one step further than reparations, and I would probably say universal basic income should be. That we should start be looking at that very soon, with the amount of jobs that are going to be people are going to be out on their arse with a lot of these new AI technologies coming out. I think universal basic income, if we sleep on that, I know so many people who work in accounts, people who work in law, who are all going to be out of a job. Yeah, with a lot of these new AI technologies.
Oh, because the chat GPT, writing those bar exams.
Yeah,
or like write me a defense of the, you know, if you do a specific precedent in law. You say, write me a defense of it. Yeah. Bang, 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 bang. And that is so much entry level.
It is.
First 3 years in a law office.
I think we need to leave a little.
Show me your reference.
I think we need to leave a little gap though, because I would like to see a few corporate lawyers begging outside tube stations. You know?
right.
Just give them a few years. You know what I mean? Fuck you can't. You know what I mean? Where's your Mercedes now, you smug prick? You know?
So just get rid of the ones we don't like.
Just for a little while. Just give them a taste.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You have to, it's like compulsory military service.
Yeah.
You have to have compulsory.
What happened to responsibility? Personal responsibility. What happened to personal responsibility?
We all have the same 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
I think the other thing about the reparations, I'm not opposed to it either. I think the interesting thing is like where does the money come from?
Yeah.
And who does it go to?
So I think it's. I don't think those are difficult decisions.
Go on,
the money comes from government, from your central bank.
But why from?
Which means
that's taxpayers. That's people.
Yeah.
But why?
Because like you have to like we'll take the American example is easier than the British one because it's right. So they worked for free. Basically, if you look at what slavery is working for free.
Sure.
So the economy of America is worth X amount, right? But a portion of that value came from free work. So it's not like you're giving them something for nothing. You're giving them what they were due. You're giving them their due, right? So where does the money come from? Well, where did the money come from to bail out the banks? It can come from the central banks. You can print money. You can make money. You've got your own money.
Yeah. They set up a new tax to pay this.
Well, you can do but you can just create it. Like Trump gave the rich people a tax break that was $2 trillion. That just appeared. So you can make money just appear. That can happen.
What about the people at the bottom who are struggling to pay and they have to get additional tax on them to pay reparations that maybe?
But we didn't. I didn't say you had to. I'd say you didn't have to have a tax for it. He gave the rich people $2 trillion extra money. Trump did, but he didn't. There was no tax to pay for that.
That's
when they did the bank, there was no tax to pay for it. But it's very easy. Like you could put more tax on inheritance tax. There's loads of ways you could add more tax. You could cut down your loopholes. It would. There's ways of paying for it.
Getting corporations to pay.
The hardest part is the will. The hardest part is convincing the people who have control of the purse strings and who make the policies to make the tax laws that this is something they should do because it will not benefit them and actually it'll benefit people that a lot of them people don't think are as equal as them and don't think that their work deserves to be paid for. And then who do you give it to? Then you're saying who do you give it to? Well, then you give it to certain communities and organisations. So like it would be easy enough to pick them out because like you'd have maybe Howard University, then you're giving it to those communities. So you go to communities where there's predominantly black people, and then you can give them better housing, you can give them better facilities, you can fund their schools, you can fund their education. You could probably figure out like who was descending from slaves, and they could put in a claim. In Ireland, after Ireland got independence, there was the state did a thing where anyone who was able to prove that they fought against Britain would get a pension. Yeah. So it can be done. Like, it's not the practicalities are very doable.
Yeah, very do. I think the interesting thing is whether you do it as a direct reparations payment, or whether you would say we're going to invest in the south side of Chicago.
Yeah, do they give out like a...
Yeah. So you can do it one way or the other. You can either give...
I just keep thinking of that Dave Chappelle sketch.
Yeah.
What's the sketch? What's this?
From the Chappelle show?
Go on, what's the one?
They do a sketch where reparations gets paid.
Yeah.
Yes. And the really clever bit of it is the reason white people did it is because they knew that...
They get all the money back.
From buying cars.
Well, this is the thing. Like, it would give the economy a massive boost. You nearly, like, if you look at John Mayer Keynes, his theory of the multiplier effect, you probably would get a lot of the money back because you're giving the money. The money would get spent. So if you were taking the money off rich people who are hoarding the money and just saving it, and then you're giving it to people who are going to spend it, that's massively beneficial to your economy.
There's some really cynical articles as well, though, about, like, and this is not about particular races, because let's move it to over here, right? Let's talk about, like, there's this concept of people who are earning less or are poorer, they earn less, they don't spend their money in the same ways as the rich do, and they end up they will spend money on things like cars and phones and things like that, whereas the super rich know to invest, and they know how to make their money work harder for them as well. So if the aim is to make the communities better, is it better to invest in the schools rather than giving out checks to people? I don't know how that would. What's the best?
Yeah, that's bullshit. I think that.
I mean, if I got a huge check, I would probably spend it on things that I didn't need.
Yeah, but when you spend it on things, then someone else gets it, and then they get to spend it on things. But I think after a certain point, people would, some people will spend it responsibly, and some won't. But there's only so many pairs of shoes you can. That's the example they always use. There's only so many pairs of shoes you can buy. So if one person has the power to buy 100 pairs of shoes, like, he's not going to buy 100 pairs of shoes. So if you spread that buying power out, you will sell 100 pairs. Do you know what I mean?
I know people who have trainers on the walls that they never wear, though. To be fair. So
Look at of course there's all, but like,
and then you got the horrible situation. And I think Donald Rawlings has a joke about this actually. But you got like a situation where, let's say you invested in a community, like the south side of Chicago, for example, whatever. You'd then have people in really poor rural Louisiana.
Oh yeah,
who'd be like, why
not?
Because right now, my life and Donald Rawlings got a joke about it. He's like, well, you fucking wasted your you were holding aces and you wasted it.
Oh yeah.
That's your problem, buddy. That's your problem, buddy. Not my problem. Yeah. But you would definitely have that.
You'll always have a bit of resentment and a bit of jealousy, and there will certainly be people who would rather, if they're not going to get the money, they would rather that it's not given than not to them.
Because in their heads, it's about fairness.
It's about fairness, and the side of it is, like, the money's there. Like, with the super wealthy, like, they're hoarding the money is not to buy resources; it's to command power. And it's disproportionate power, like,
which is a resource. It's not a tangible resource.
It's not a tangible resource. So that's where they want it, especially
in America, where you literally can buy political.
Oh yeah. Well,
and over here,
you can everywhere. It's very direct in America. It's probably a bit more, behind the sines here. But you can buy power everywhere in the world. Like,
so Donald Trump did not get arrested.
Did he not?
He didn't get arrested. I don't think he's going to get arrested either.
I mean, it's fucked up. I do think that is a terrible look for the States if one of their presidents gets arrested, though. Like, deserving. And what was it? What was the reason he was getting arrested? Was it
hush money? He paid Stormy.
Was that it?
I thought
it was a tax thing.
No. He paid. No, it was the hush money. That's what he was. Right. That's what he was saying. He was going to get arrested for.
Oh, right. So that's what he was saying. But was it actually? Because does anyone care that he paid off a?
Well, it's like it mightn't be crime at a century, but it's illegal. It's illegal. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think what I find interesting is, like, why would you want to bring him back into the... I mean, I get it. There's somebody somewhere who's like, if I can collar Donald Trump, my standing, my status, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
From a macro level, you're like, bringing his name back into the
for sure. Back into the circle. Yeah, makes him who he is again. The underdog and
everything. Yeah, the fascinating thing, I'd love to know what you think about this. You're gonna have a more nuanced opinion than me and Adam. I'm kind of saying this half kidding, but not really. Is Joe Biden physically capable of running for another election.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't think
Absolutely
so.
not.
I don't think
So therefore, where are they going to go? And if it's anybody in the sort of secondary tier of Democratic politics, and they run Trump, surely he's getting back in.
Well,
surely
it's Trump versus DeSantis at the moment, though, isn't it?
it is. And the problem the Republican Party's got is DeSantis is kind of like polite Trump.
Right.
So he none of them believe anything, but he's talking about a lot of similar things, but he does it with a more politician's veneer.
Right. Yeah.
And the problem is, what we've seen is like, yeah, we'll remember those Republican debates where it's like education and the military and like Ted's wife's a fat pig.
Yeah.
And so people are going to gravitate to that.
But it's
sure.
can you pull wool over the eyes second time? Like it's like Boris, the Trump and Boris thing. It does run out
I
of
don't think
steam
it's
at the
pulling
end.
up. So he made an amazing. I'm fascinated by political speeches, and he made, I think, an amazing speech at the. It's called CPAC. It's like basically a massive Republican fundraising event. Yeah. And he said, if you've been mistreated, I am your justice. If you have been wronged, I am your truth.
Yes.
If you feel the need to fight, I am your warrior. And that is getting, that is going to give people a level of incentive.
And everyone's wearing the new MAGA hats as well now with the MAGA. He went full.
Yeah. But he's still, I don't know.
Could learn a lot from the merch game.
He's not young either, Trump. Like he's
like a couple
older.
of years younger than
Like 1 year, I think.
Yeah.
1 year or 2 years younger than Biden. But he just performs like he's...
But
and his wigs. Yeah.
Yeah, wits and wigs. That's what you need.
Biden might go again. Like if it looks like he's going to get elected, like he might go again, because the other side of it too is he might be thinking, like, if I die in office, then the baton gets passed
to Kamala or something.
Yeah. So he might go with that strategy.
Do you think they ever vote? Who would they vote in if not Biden?
That's what I'm asking, because Kamala Harris is deeply, deeply unpopular to the point where they've stopped. About a year ago, they stopped getting her out in public because she's so unpopular. Every time she appears.
But when is the next election? It's 2 years.
2024, yeah.
It's 2 years. Oh no, next year. All right. God, it comes along quick, doesn't it? The 4-year thing.
Yeah. So they'll start running in a couple of months.
Yeah. So a lot will matter on how the economy, if the banking crisis becomes a 2008 banking crisis, the Democrats are done.
So if
they're done.
You've got inflation. You're gonna have inflation no matter what. Interest rate hikes,
which is unfortunate because a lot of that was unavoidable. I mean, we were always going to have crazy inflation after the amount of fucking money they printed during the pandemic. We were always going to have that.
Who'd have thought that?
Yeah, I mean, I was reading a lot of crypto journals at the time, and it was just like very much, it was definitely it was going to happen, but the buck you do sort of blame the party that's in power at the time. Of
course you do.
You know, but I don't know. Biden, I've seen too many memes of him like saying, America can be described in one phrase, and he just goes. And it's like fucking hell, man.
But like memes are nothing like he is passing policies that are helping people. So,
but is he actually lucid and aware? And
because I'll say this: running a government, again, you would know more than me, but running a government is different than campaigning.
Yeah,
because running a government is like, I'm getting on with the actual bits and bobs.
Yeah.
I'm passing.
Campaigning, you need
campaigning.
You need the stamina for the campaigning. Yeah,
I'm buying, especially in American politics.
Yeah,
I'm buying into you.
Yeah.
So you've been cracking on with like the student debt loan and all that sort of stuff and good stuff in the background, but you can't say that every single stump speech.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to react to people. You're going to have to meet people. You're going to have to do debates.
And look, we don't even have horses in this race. We don't even live in the States. We can't even vote. But imagine how infused you'd feel like if you actually live there and you actually feel this actually affects your country. Like,
and the reason I think the Warrior Justice Batman speech that he gave was so interesting was because the culture war stuff is such a sideshow. It's such a distraction on both sides. It's such a distraction. But the number of people who feel their life's not going great for a variety of reasons, and then they pin it on. Yeah, it's because of this progressive agenda.
Oh, for sure.
But it's always going to be close. Like, do you know what I mean? But
a landslide. Like 54, 46,
like it's always going to be close. So it's small enough margins that win it in the end. You know.
Sleepy Joe, they call him.
Sleepy Joe, yeah.
Yeah, I tell you it's funny as well. Do you ever chat to an American? We all have these opinions on American politics.
Yes.
They're like, who's your prime minister? Is it still Margaret Thatcher?
Oh my God. Yeah. It's so funny. But the thing is, though, just like, because we're obsessed with their politics, but they're obsessed, I mean, up until recently, with our royal family. They do pay it back, because no one here cares really about the royal family, but the Americans fucking love it. So it's like we know more about their politics, more about their presidents, we can name all their states, but they know all about our royal family. So it's like, because they don't, you always want what you can't have, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
They've got theirs. It's the Kardashians.
Oh yeah.
I've been working on. I'm working on a bit about the royal family. I did it last night now, and I didn't get a punchline out of it. But a few people said to me, "Oh, you need to keep working on it."
Can you share the
Prince
premise?
Charles
You
thing.
comfortable saying?
Yeah. But have you noticed that?
What's
that
this?
like when the Queen was alive, she was always in the paper doing stuff, and he's doing nothing. Like he's not doing anything.
Yeah,
He's still getting paid the same money.
I think the angle
He's not.
got.
He's not doing anything, or he's not seen to be doing anything.
Well, he's not seen to be doing anything.
Yeah, I think the gender pay gap is a really funny
Angle, yeah. But I need to find a punchline.
Well, he took Frogmore House away from Harry and Meghan. That was one of the things he was on there.
Yeah.
They took away one of their big mansions. He was like, "Yeah,
have you seen too where he's going to France for a visit and he's supposed to be having this dinner in Versailles, and because all the protests are going on in France, the people who are supposed to roll out the red carpet for him are going to strike. They said we're not rolling out a red carpet for him.
Amazing.
There's people like the caterers are like, we're not cooking.
That's the most French Republic.
Yeah, they're like, we don't want to see him. We're not doing anything for him. All the workers who are meant to help with the preparation for it are like, we're not going to do it.
The French, man, are just so.
They're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They lose. They were like burning cars and everything.
Yeah.
They were going to increase the retirement age from 62 to 64.
Yeah.
And what's the retirement age here? 66, 67?
68.
68.
Yeah.
Oh man, the French have.
They crack life.
They know what they want and what they don't want to do.
Yeah.
What the French have
Self-respect.
really understand that people in Britain
Cheese.
don't understand
cheese
is
and self-respect.
you only get what you fight for. You don't get what British people think.
It's funny because that's not prevalent in the
we
wars,
will
is
be
it?
treated fairly. What?
But they're not known for fighting in wars, but when it comes to their human rights and stuff,
Historically they won plenty of wars. They were the best army in the world for a year, 100 years.
British people have such a big. British people think war started and ended with World War II.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The only boundaries
And
of
one
war.
World Cup, Tom. And one World Cup, baby, please.
And everyone's like, because I heard this great thing the other day, and I blew my mind. You know, you said right earlier about we don't get taught a certain type of history.
Yeah.
So we get part of even people who don't like the empire. I think on some level we're like, we did little tiny wet island.
It's weirdly it's seen as cool.
And everyone someone's like, you do realise Britain lost almost every war it fought in. The only war it always had a great navy.
Yeah.
It was always good at defending its little sort of borders, but it basically was going to these countries that had no technology, no gunpowder, steamrolling them, and they couldn't stop Napoleon for love nor money, and they had to wait for Napoleon to get lost in Russia before.
There's a great TikTok video. It's like really fast. It's like the history of Europe, like in 4 minutes or something. And it's basically England won, but had spent all their money, so they were bankrupt. French win the next war, but now they're bankrupt. You know what I mean? And it's just every country that won became bankrupt from funding the war.
So is the reason, with respect to Prince Charles, the biggest part of a queen's ceremonial duties is like cutting ribbons? Is it because they can't find any scissors?
You have to get those novelty ones. Both one for each fist.
You can take that. They're just trying to find bigger scissors.
For him to use.
Just these bigger.
I reckon he's just trying to lay low. You know.
I think he's lazy.
She was, whether people like her or not, she was the most.
She was a grafter. She was a grafter. She was out there.
Yeah.
Like even if you hated the roles, it'd be very weird to be like, she's a sweet little lady. Hello, good for you. She abided by the rules. That seemed like the pandemic. That famous photo of her like being by herself when her husband passed.
She played the game.
People like it. People don't like him because he was. What is it? Who's his wife?
Camilla Parker Bowles.
So people don't like him. They still think he killed Diana, and it's just all those sort of things where it's just like he's just keeping. And with all this Harry and Meghan stuff, I don't think he wants to be drawing more attention to the royals. He's just like, let's just tick over, let these guys sell their books and do their shit, and then maybe I reckon he'll become more prevalent as time goes on.
By the way, shouts out to Trey Parker and Matt Stone for that South Park.
Such a good episode.
Have you seen it?
Worldwide Privacy Tour is the name of the episode.
Yeah, it's amazing. So in South Park they have the Canadian characters who are kind of like flappy-headed Canadians.
Yeah.
So Meghan's Canadian, so they move back to Canada. So it's like, today we have a royal prince and his wife.
Yeah.
And they come in like they were carrying placards just saying like, we want privacy. We want privacy.
So good.
Hello, old chap. We're here on a worldwide privacy tour to tell everybody how much privacy we need.
Yes.
Isn't that right? Right, wife. And Meghan doesn't speak the whole episode. She's not called Meghan, she's called wife.
Yeah.
And she doesn't speak the whole episode. It's kind of
And he's like, you've got this new book called Where, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you seem to be crying a lot about how much privacy you want. Yes, that's why we're going on every single radio show we can find to tell people how much privacy we need.
We want, yeah.
oh my god, they go in on it because they don't name them specifically, but then they liken Meghan Markle to being called like an Instagram loving bitch or something because she did a lot of
Is she
stuff.
on Instagram?
Of course she is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is she?
And she was on because she was in Suits, wasn't she?
Yeah, yeah.
Giving you guys an extra 15. It's okay.
Oh, I was waiting for the. I was waiting for the shout.
Oh really?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
giving you an extra 15 anyway.
Oh, cool.
Okay,
Well,
cool.
we can wrap up whenever.
Wrap
Yeah,
up,
well,
yeah.
we'll wrap up now. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just so funny that they just don't pull any fucking punches that show. So it's
Yeah.
Really
I
good.
didn't know it was still going.
mate, it's
Oh.
just as funny
Now,
as it has ever been. Honestly,
there's a great documentary. I think it's called 8 Days to Air.
6 days to air.
6 days to air.
Yeah.
And it shows you the process of getting an episode
So-
ready.
oh, wow.
It's like
Yeah.
day one is like, so what are we going to talk about? By day 6, they're like,
Yeah.
should probably start animating now.
Yeah, and they're all the animators because you think that because they've got South Park Studios and you think that they're like open all year and stuff. It's literally just when they're about to season, all this stuff come in. They go right, this is going to be really fucking intense, 6 or 7 weeks because I think they only do like 7 episodes a season now, and they go, what's in the news? How do we do it? And then like the animators actually sleep there overnight because they're just doing it like crunch time, and they show them in that documentary, don't they?
Yeah.
Like even back in the day when you had to do this, they'd hand like the disc
Yeah.
or the tapes basically over to MTV, going, "This is this week's episode," like an hour before it broadcasts.
They'll pay a big health price for that now. Not sleeping.
That's full circle.
Full
Oh, that's great.
Callbacks. Right, Adam, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me online, on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok at Adam Kumas, which is Coumas. There's only 2 of us on there. Adam Kumas is on Instagram, and the other guy is my uncle. So, yeah.
And he's going to have him killed.
Yeah.
I'm at comedian.jack.hester.
And I'm Thomas Henry Comedy on all platforms. This has been another episode of Tom and Jack Having the Crack with the wonderful Adam Kumas.
Hey, thank you, guys.
a good weekend.
And Francisco on the buttons, the ones
Thank
and
you.
twos. Thank you.
Cheers, Francisco.
Cheers, man. Oh, that was fun.
That was good.
That was good.
Yeah.
Mate, fucking you had that in the back pocket as well. What a way to end it.